When Levi moved to Cedar Hill, all he wanted was peace, a garden, and a quiet place to call home. But one early morning, the roar of jackhammers shattered that peace and revealed a scheme more calculated than anyone expected. This isn't just a story about property lines. It's about power, betrayal, and how one man fought back with truth, patience, and a camera. When Levi Dawson moved into his new home in Cedar Hill, Oregon, he wasn't looking for conflict. He was 42, a respected architectural designer who had spent most of his career shaping cities for other people. All he wanted now was to shape a quieter life for himself, a life with early mornings in the garden, a wide lawn he could tend by hand, and a cul-de-sac where peace lived. At first, Cedar Hill seemed to offer all of that. Neighbors smiled, just enough. The streets were quiet, the sky was open, and his corner lot offered enough space for lavender rows and stone path borders. It was perfect. Until the day the ground began to shake. It was 6:52 a.m. when Levi was pulled from sleep by the sharp roar of machinery. He opened the front door in a daze, coffee half poured, and stared in disbelief. Jackhammers were tearing up the edge of his front lawn. Men in reflective vests stood over stakes and spray paint, carving into what he knew was his property. "Whoa," he called out, walking barefoot into the noise. "What is going on?" A man with a clipboard and a yellow helmet looked up. "We're expanding the shared driveway. Orders from the HOA president, Ms. Farnsworth." Levi blinked. Shared what? There was no shared driveway in his deed. No easement. No line on any survey that suggested the edge of his lawn belonged to anyone else. Moments later, Gloria Farnsworth arrived. She was everything he'd already sensed in their brief interactions, impeccably dressed, tightly composed, and disturbingly confident. She walked over like she owned the block and greeted him with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "It's all standard," she said lightly. "The board approved it. We're aligning the neighborhood for symmetry." Levi told her he had never heard of this plan. "Oh, it's in the bylaws," she said, patting her clipboard. "Easement rights. Section 8 something?" "I don't have it in front of me." Levi's tone sharpened. "I'm an architect. I read legal documents for fun. That section doesn't exist." Gloria smiled wider. "You're welcome to file a complaint." Instead, Levi called the police. 2 officers arrived from the non-emergency line. Calm, professional. Levi presented his deed, property map, and HOA correspondence. Meanwhile, Gloria fumbled with a crumpled HOA manual, flipping through pages with no real direction. Then, she did something unexpected. She snatched one of the officer's clipboards and pointed aggressively at a line she couldn't explain. When questioned, she raised her voice, calling Levi combative and unneighborly. She insisted she had approval and waved a contractor's work order, one she claimed was board certified. The officer took it, looked it over, and paused. It had a forged signature. The contractor, overhearing, walked over and quietly said, "I've never met the person who signed this. She handed it to me this morning." 10 minutes later, Gloria was in handcuffs. Trespassing, property damage, falsifying HOA documents. The construction stopped immediately. But that was only the beginning. Within hours, the news spread through Cedar Hill like wildfire. Gloria Farnsworth, who had ruled the HOA like a one-woman regime for years, was finally facing consequences. Some loyalists defended her. She meant well. She kept the standards high. But most residents were stunned. They had blindly trusted her leadership, assuming every flowerbed fee or patio inspection was legitimate. An emergency board vote was called. Gloria was removed unanimously. But the deeper truth began to surface when Levi received an anonymous envelope in his mailbox. Inside was a folded hand-drawn map. His house was on it. So were the others around the cul-de-sac. Red circles marked sections, labeled shared beautification zones. Arrows pointed to patios, fences, garden edges. Next to some names were handwritten insults: lazy, no taste, resistant. Levi brought the map to the new interim board, where Tom and Barbara, two long-standing but previously passive members, were horrified. They authorized a full audit. The results were damning. Thousands of dollars spent on community upgrades had no paper trail. Flower bed projects billed at 3 times their market rate. Pool renovations marked completed but never approved. Invoices for work that never existed. Multiple families began to speak out. Stories emerged about sudden violations when people pushed back. Odd fees that only affected certain homeowners. Unapproved inspections that seemed personal. A class action lawsuit took shape within weeks. Levi was asked to testify during Gloria's trial. He arrived in court with the same precision he brought to his blueprints, time-stamped, footage from his front camera, screenshots of HOA meeting emails, and property surveys from the title company. He spoke calmly, factually. The judge didn't need long. Gloria was sentenced to 2 years probation. 200 hours of community service in the city's Public Works Department and ordered to pay $12,500 in restitution. As for Frederick, her husband, the prestigious lawyer who had once dismissed Levi with a smirk, his firm distanced themselves quietly but definitively. His name faded from the HOA newsletter overnight. In the months that followed, something began to shift in Cedar Hill. Levi, who had only wanted peace, found himself at the center of a neighborhood awakening. People who had never spoken to each other before started sharing coffee, comparing stories, rewriting bylaws together. He didn't want to lead, but when they nominated him as HOA vice president, he accepted, not out of pride, but out of necessity. He rewrote policies with legal oversight. He added transparency clauses, and he made sure no HOA president could authorize anything without board approval again. And the lawn, the one Gloria tried to cut through, Levi rebuilt it, layer by layer. The grass returned. The stone path was wider now, edged with rosemary and low lights. At the center of the yard stood a low wall clean. Minimalist and embedded in it was a small plaque that read, "Private property, no exceptions." Not a warning, a promise. Then one day, as Levi watered the lavender, a young couple walked up, nervous but hopeful. "We just moved into lot 27, the woman said. "We got a letter from the old board about our porch paint." "We didn't know who to ask," Levi smiled. "You're safe now," he said. "Those letters don't mean anything anymore." And for the first time in a long time, the street felt like home again.